Okay, we are live.
All right, we're running.
Excellent.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm Brian Demers, and with me is Micah Silverman and Lee Brandt. And we are going to talk about the Okta CLI today and probably a few other things along the way. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Micah, you can go first.
Sure, my name is Micah Silverman. My official title at Okta is Staff Security Hacker. I like to break stuff. For those of you who play D&D out there, I always am a chaotic neutral, and that's how I run my professional life as well. But I like to write a lot of uh, test apps. I contribute to our blog posts. I contributed a little bit to the CLI. Brian did most of the heavy lifting there, which we're going to talk about today. But I'm a good resource for all things API and hackery therein. Lee, you're up.
My name is Lee Brandt. My official title is Senior Developer Advocate, but I also go by Fat Gandalf, Hagrid, uh, whatever else you can think of, Wolfman, Sasquatch, whatever. Um, yeah, so basically, I build sample apps and try and teach developers in the world how to use Okta from a developer's perspective, mostly in JavaScript. So, yeah. Today, Brian and Micah are going to teach me how to use the new Octa CLI. I don't even have it installed yet. So they're going to show me how to install it and how to run it.
Maybe we
So,
should take a quick step back and talk about what
oh, yeah.
Okta is and why you need a CLI. I can do that if you like.
Cool.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Okta, in a nutshell, you offload your identity management to us and we let you focus on your app because while authentication and authorization are probably necessary for your app, they're probably not the focus of your app. So we like to say friends don't let friends build off. I like to say, no offense, you're not going to do it right. That's all that Okta does. So let us do that and you can focus on your app. So then to support that, we support all kinds of different standards. We have all kinds of fancy advanced features like multi-factor authentication. We have different APIs for authentication and authorization, and it can be challenging to wrangle all that together. And so we set out to make it so that you could run a working app connected to Okta in the language and framework of your choice in about 5 minutes. So you can really get your hands around it. And then from there, you can start to, you can see the benefit of Okta right off the bat, and then you can start to actually build your app. So we want you to be able to run a command and then go to your browser and be able to authenticate to an app regardless of the language or framework. So that's what we're talking about with the CLI, the command line interface tool.
Cool.
Awesome.
So where are
So,
we going to start?
what are the other options besides using the Okta CLI? What do people have been doing since back before you guys developed the CLI?
Yeah, it's a great question. Typically, you would go to developer.okta.com, which you can still do, and you'd sign up for an Okta org. That's like your personal portal or your company's portal into Okta. You get your own subdomain, and then you can configure things like the features, and you can set up all your users in Okta. And typically, that's done with a mix of using the Okta admin console. Maybe you write some custom code if you're comfortable and familiar with using RESTful APIs and tools like Postman, you can just go right to the metal and use the API directly to do things like create users or to authenticate those users. So there's a bunch of different ways to do this, and we wanted to give you an experience where you didn't have to leave your command line in order to accomplish all that. So in a nutshell, and we're going to see this in a moment, you install the Okta command line interface tool, you run it, and it will go and create the Okta org, set you up with some applications, and then allow you to pick from a number of canned samples that we have, and it'll run those samples connected to that Okta org that you just created. Usually or ordinarily in the past, that would have been a bunch of clicking around in your browser, maybe cloning a GitHub repo, setting some config variables in that repo. So there were kind of different disparate places you had to reach out to get this all set up. We wanted to kind of consolidate it all in one place.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that, I mean, you don't have to use the CLI to use Okta, right? Like we just want people comfortable with CLI tools to be able to get started really easy. You know, we can do this in basically one command, right? But if you're more comfortable with browsers and IDEs and all those things, that's awesome too. We have a ton of blog posts that walk you through how to get all these things set up, and you can do that as well.
Nice. Okay, so where do I start? I'm on a Mac, so I'm assuming homebrew.
That's a good assumption.
That is a great assumption. Why don't we'll give you this little handy
Now, what about
URL
on
right here.
Linux machines? I'm assuming there's like some sort of executable I can download for Windows. Are we using apt-get for Linux machines?
We're using Pac-Man, not Pac-Man. What am I trying to say? See, I forget. It's been
For Linux, we're using
Yeah.
Flatpak.
Flatpak. See, it's been I haven't looked at the Linux side of things since before the Christmas break, and my brain is already forgotten about it.
Yeah, welcome to our first Twitch stream after Christmas.
Right.
Yeah, really. I guess that's a good point too, is we wanted to make sure that it was multi-platform. So it's the same interface, whether you're on Windows or Linux or Mac. There are slightly different approaches to install it because they're different platforms. But once it is installed, you should be able to run the same exact set of commands, whether it's on Linux or Windows or Mac.
Well, that's good to know.
Yep. So on a Mac, you can use Homebrew. On Linux, it's Flatpak, and on Windows, it's Chocolatey.
Okay. Nice.
So Lee, there's a link down, well, depending on which way you are, down below you. If you go to cli.octa.com, you can grab a nice handy link to cut and paste.
Okay.
Here.
Let me go. I can't copy.
Maybe, I don't know if we're there yet, but at some point you want to start sharing your screen.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Share my screen. I'm going to start with sharing an application window. It means I'm going to have to, it's going to be a little chunkier, but.
Oh, I like it. Infinity portal.
Okay, so here we are. And if I want brew install, I do have homebrew installed, I'm pretty sure. So we just need this guy here, right? Okay, this may have been a bad idea, but we're going to see it through now because.
I think now that you have the command, I think you can stay in your browser for a bit. So I mean, in your console for a bit until you actually start running the your sample app.
The -- cask means that it's a cask and not just a regular tap. Okay. It's doing something because the window. There we go. Oh, it's going to update.
Oh, of course.
Let's go get a cup of coffee while it updates.
Yeah, we should have primed the pump on that one, but such is life. It's like every other day, brew updates.
I've got to download the internet and.
All right, let's get rid of this.
I just blasted and reinstalled this machine with Big Sur. So.
All right.
Nice. Okay. How is it? I haven't updated yet.
It's okay. When I first upgraded, I tried just doing the regular upgrade, and it blew my monitor out. I've got one of the Samsung 49-inch widescreen gamer monitors that's like, it's about 40 inches wide, but it's only still about 18 inches tall. So it's like 3840 by 1080, which means when I try and share my whole screen, it shrinks everything down to 1920 by 1080, with my window being really, really tiny right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Is your neck getting whiplash or?
No, it's good because it's curved.
So. Awesome.
Okay, so now we've got it installed. I can verify. Is there like I'm assuming there's like a -- version or something?
Okay. There we go.
So 0.7.1. All right. So how do I get started with, let me just change into a directory somewhere where there's actually code. Okay. Now that I'm in this directory, I just do Octa what? Well, let's
start. Oh, yeah, there you go. Start with the help.
So there's a -- batch. Help version verbose. So the commands we can run are register, login, apps, start, help, generate, completion. Okay. So register makes sense if I want to sign up for a new Okta account. Login authorizes the Okta CLI tool to my new account.
To an existing account.
To an existing account. Okay. Apps. So if I did something like Okta, right now I know you guys are supposed to be walking me through this, but I think this is what a lot of developers I think.
Oh, stumble through it. It's good. It's good feedback for us too, you know.
Okay, so I can config or create a new Okta app. Let's do this again. It's more readable. So we can show an app's configuration, or we can create a new Okta app. So if I wanted to create a new Okta app, let's do that. I'm a JavaScript developer by nature, so let's do Okta apps create to help see what arguments I need to send it. Okay, so I need to give it an app name, an authorization server ID. So what's the -- batch?
So it's if you're running this in a script, you can the Okta CLI will prompt you.
Okay.
So the -- bash just will fail instead of prompting you.
Okay.
Now, one thing I want to point out here, Lee, and you know, this is good feedback for us. We may want to reorganize the list of things here, but if you go back to the beginning where you just typed Okta by itself, and it gave you the help screen there. We should probably move. We need to update the wording, I think, for start.
Yep.
The intention of start is like the one-stop shop to both create an org and to run a sample. So
the apps create is really only if you're already registered and logged in to Okta.
that's
yep.
right.
So start is like a wrapper around both register, and it hides a lot of the app creation for you as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
if
I'm
I
going to give
wanted
you a
to
little
create
hint.
one,
You want to start with Okta start.
oh, okay. So I'm going to assume I have no account in Okta, no apps or org or anything in Okta, and I'm just going to run Okta start.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything I need to pass to Okta start?
Nope.
You can pass a sample name, but you don't need to. So you can just run Okta start, and then it'll prompt you for anything it needs.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay. So, I don't want to do React Native. Let's just do like a Vue in Okta. I'm not super well versed in Vue, but I do okay.
Oh, do you already have an Okta account?
Yeah, so it looks like, Lee, you may already have in your home folder a .okta, what is it, .okta.yaml
Yeah,
file.
because I did
Yep.
have it installed once
So
before.
yeah, just for fun, let's move that out of the way, just so that anybody tuning in can see what it's like to start clean.
Okay, so in my home folder, you said?
Yep. You just rename, so it'll be .okta/okta.yaml. You can just rename it or move it out of the way or whatever you want to do.
It's a dot. Yeah, there you go.
There it is. So let's just do.
There you go. You may want to delete your example now too.
My example.
You just created an example.
The Okta View sample.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now we're back sort of at a fresh machine. Everything's been installed. And we'll run Okta start.
Registering for a new Okta account. Okay. Like to use an existing account, use Octal Login instead. Okay, so we'll just do this. So just in case this doesn't take the full minute, I'm just going to blather on for a second and see if we can fill the time.
That works.
So, Micah, tell me about your life story. Where were you born? What are your life aspirations? Okay, never
too
mind. We
late.
don't care anymore. Okay, so now I can go over to my email. I'm not going to share that screen.
Yeah, but just a simple TOTP code. I think most of us have seen sort of the verification codes.
Okay, so when I come back in here,
And of course, it's a one-time use code, so pasting it for all of Reddit to see, Twitch to see isn't a big deal.
yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the view one. Okay, so now I have an app, is what we're saying. Okta view sample. So let's go. All right, and these are my files. What should I be looking at to make sure that we've got everything we need? I mean, can I just run this now and it just works?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, everything should be all configured. So you just, npm install, download the internet.
Oh, that's right.
So now we're back to Micah's life story.
You've got 10 seconds, no pressure.
That was pretty quick, actually.
All right. Now we can just do npm start.
Yep.
I do really like the views startup screen. Okay, now let's go ahead and we'll switch back over to my browser window. And let's open up a, what was it? Localhost
8080. Maybe in big and
so we're here. I can log in with my
Oh yeah, so this is the thing we sort of skipped ahead. So
all right.
Yeah.
Order of operations is a thing. That's okay though.
Yep. So you may want to bounce back to your console and there's a link to set your password.
Okay.
You might scroll up a bit.
I was just gonna wait for him to get to the password field and see what he randomly typed.
Oh yeah. I should have waited. It should have told you. There should have been a link that said, click this to set your password.
Okay.
Of course you can't see it anymore. Oh, you got to scroll back. It's all good. Maybe
Scroll back only a little bit.
Whoops. All right.
Octaview sample. Yeah. Okay. So I don't have it that far. So what do I need to do?
So now you gotta reset your password.
Okay.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry, Lee.
In
There was a link on your screen, I promise.
like forgot password type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you may want to bounce back to
That
your
was
well.
just me just getting a little excited and wanting to start up the
I mean,
application.
this is good feedback for us also to say like before you run, make sure you go and set your password. We show the link there, but maybe we need to highlight it or something.
Yeah, it may not be obvious.
The good news is that you're not dead in the water. You just have to take some extra steps now.
Well, it is a little bit dead in the water because the email I got back says password reset request was made for your Okta account. If you did not make this request, your password can only be reset by an administrator.
Wah. Whoops. All right. So the easiest way out of this is just to rerun it.
We'll just create a different
app. No, you'd have to recreate the org. So the password is set between when the org is created and the application.
So
I should
toast
go back here and
toast Octa again. Yeah.
Yeah. And then delete that directory.
Instructive.
Yeah. It's all good. Demo monsters.
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's see if I can do this right without screwing it up.
No, it's good. I mean, user error, are usually caused by something, right? Whether it's assumptions or whatever, and applications should probably take those assumptions into consideration.
Okay. So we have Okta installed.
But while you're doing that, I love the -V, by the way. I never know if it's an uppercase V, a lowercase V, like 12 different V's for verbose. That's one of my pet peeves.
Okay, so this is where we were at, right? Okta start.
Yep.
Start a new app. This will create a new organization. Everybody get my personal email. Make sure you email me.
Already done. I've signed you up for all the lists. I've really been trying to unsubscribe to my list. I had to delete 100,000 Gmail or messages in my Gmail account, my personal account, because I was at my quota. I have no idea what is so large in my account, but it's been driving me crazy.
Okay. There's my one-time password.
I'm subscribed to all these different mailing lists that I only read some of them occasionally.
My biggest problem is like I'll go and buy a present for somebody. Like I'll get my wife something, and then all of a sudden I'm subscribed to the newsletter for some jewelry thing or women's clothing thing, and I'm like, okay.
It's a good cover anyway.
Every time. Okay, so we're gonna do the view Okta one still.
All right, so we're back. Oh, so see where right there it says set your password. Open this link. I'm gonna make that big and bold and
different color.
Yeah, maybe blue, maybe red.
This. Should I share my screen for this, or is it pretty uneventful?
I mean, you can. It's your typical set a password screen.
Just says new password and repeat password. So I'll just do well. I better let my one password decide for me because I will make poor decisions.
Yeah. I've been walking my dad through creating passwords and recovering accounts lately, and I really want to set him up with something like 1Password or some sort of tool. But just getting past the dealing with password hurdles is huge for some folks.
Okay. So once I do that, I'm logged into my dashboard, which we won't show because it's in every blog post we do right now. So back in my thing now. Now we can do the npm install.
You probably want to go into your view directory first.
Oh.
I mean, but that was quick. That was the fastest npm install I've ever seen.
npm is fastest when there's nothing to install. Got it.
All right. Now we're just going to npm start.
It's going to work this time, I promise. Third time's a charm.
All right. So I click on this and say open the URL. I'll stop sharing. Come back to the right tab and share my screen again. And I'm already logged in.
Oh, yeah. So open up an incognito window and we can watch that. Because you just logged in after you set your password. So.
Oh, now I got to share that incognito window though.
Or you can log out from here. That works too.
Share the incognito window. New tab. There we go. No, I'm not even going to try to. Oh. Now I've got too many windows open, and Chrome groups regular and incognito windows. There it is. Okay. That is not the one. Host 8080. Localhost 8080.
Oh, really? You add a period to the end of that, and Chrome thinks otherwise.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't know what localhost 8080 is. Although if I, misspell somebody's name, it'll go, "Did you mean Johnson?"
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a terrible speller, and I spell so bad that spell check usually doesn't work for me. Well, occasionally, but Google wins every time. Google knows exactly what I'm spelling wrong, so I know I'm not the only one searching for poorly misspelled words.
Hang on a second. I got to go back to my regular window to get to the password.
Your password
for me. Copy that.
So we are trying to integrate more things that don't involve passwords at Okta. So someday soon,
And
maybe the password will just be gone. That username is likely your email address.
The other one. All right.
There we go.
Oh,
there we go.
Holy crap-a-holio. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So half of that was
share your screen again.
Me just getting all excited. Well, what do you want to see? Because I closed the incognito window.
Do you still have the other one going?
Yes.
In Chrome? It's all good. We only saw it for a second. So if you go to profile, you can sort of prove that you're logged in. Your application has information about you. So that's the exciting part. So if you were building your own application and you wanted to show, the username or family name or your time zone or something, you could grab that info and render it however you see fit.
I don't think the messages are set up yet.
No, that's a separate application.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was it in a nutshell. Although that nut.
Where did it get this application from?
This was from. Go ahead, Micah.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a couple of things at this juncture that I think are worth showing, right? So just to recap, because we took a little bit of a windy road there, which is totally fine. But the ideal scenario is you run Okta start, you get the passcode, you paste it in. You get a link, you go set your password, you run your example, right? That's where we ended up ultimately.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of cool things happened along the way that I think are worth pointing out. So first of all, if you have VS Code or something and you can bring up that sample code, you'll see that some key information was automatically configured for you in that project. And this is kind of like the secret sauce of the Okta CLI, where, like, even if you didn't know anything about Vue, you ended up with a runnable app that connected to Okta. Now, knowing something about Vue, we can actually take a look at what it took to configure and connect it to Okta. So if you look at under, well, first of all, there's this .okta.env file. If you take a look at that, that has been set with your Okta specific information. So the sample is like a template, and the Okta CLI plugs in this information. So this client ID is the application that's been configured for you in Okta as part of the Okta start command. So this all kind of glues together because the CLI has created an application in Okta for you, and the CLI has set these variables in this sample application. And this is roughly equivalent to any of the sample applications that you would choose. It might just be different files in different spots to, but these two values are at least the kind of information that you're going to need. So then if you jump back to your Okta admin console, we can now take a look at applications and see that the CLI configured an application for you. Ordinarily, as we were saying earlier, you don't have to use the CLI, but ordinarily you would have had to come in here and create an application of the right type and everything. And the Okta CLI has done that work for you.
Oh, I am not in the right one. How did I get to this one? And which one should I be in?
You did end up creating a couple different orgs on your along your way
If you
here.
go back to VS Code, the issuer has the right org there.
There we go. All right. Hey, I'm slow, but I'm
tough. That's what Brian always says. So if you make this a little bit bigger, because it looks small for me, I don't know about anybody else, but this application, it was named after the sample that you chose. So you chose a view sample, and it's configured in the appropriate way. There's all kinds of different applications you can create in Okta. This is an OpenID Connect application. It's of a particular type. It's because it's a spa app, it's using Pixie. One of the hurdles that we also wanted to accomplish with the CLI was for a developer not to have to know all these details up front. You don't have to know what OIDC is. You don't have to know what Pixie is in order to get going with Okta here. And if you don't really care to go deep into the details of the standard, you never have to learn that stuff. You have a functioning app now that any of your users could authenticate to, and now if you want to go deeper, you can, but everything's kind of working here. So the moving parts are the CLI created an org for you. It created an application in that org. It cloned a sample repository and it configured that sample with the information that was just created in your org.
Nice.
So that's kind of a lot of legwork, saved you a lot of clicks in order to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, even with my own screw ups, that was way quicker than it would have been to do all that stuff manually.
Yeah, and if you are someone who is familiar with OIDC and you just need to get your issuer and your client ID, maybe the secret, you don't have to go hunting around a new UI for it, right? So if you're coming from some other place and you just need your OAuth information, the Okta CLI will help you there too, because it'll just configure your app for you. And if you really want, you can just grab those arguments from the configuration file, or if you could run Okta apps create, and that'll create an app for you, and you can plug that information into any application.
Nice. So I should mention that obviously we're taking questions. So if anybody has any questions while we're going through this, feel free to put them in the chat, and we can answer them either as we're going along or as we get done with a segment. So I think the next thing we're going to do is not only could I not create a view app without screwing it up, we decided that I'm also going to create a Spring Boot app, which I don't even write Java code, but we're going to try that, right?
Yes, and I would say before you start it, just make sure that you grab a JVM, and probably the easiest way to do that is to use SDKman. So maybe we should start there, and Brian and I can walk you through that since we're Java nerds. That
Okay.
is, and it's worth saying, like all of these have requirements, right? So to use the Okta CLI, you're going to at least need the package manager for your platform. So you need Homebrew on Mac, you need Chocolatey on Windows, you need Flatpak on Linux. That's kind of like the entry level. But then if you want to say do Vue as Lee did, you're also going to need Node.
Node and
And
NPM.
it kind of it at least gives you a hint to that, and maybe we can be more explicit about it in future iterations. Because when you install a sample, it gives you the command that you need to run that sample. So it was like npm start, right? Well, if you don't have npm, if you don't have Node, you don't have npm, and so those then become requirements of the sample that you want to do. So I went through this. I don't know a blessed thing about .NET, and I decided to try our .NET sample, and then I realized soon enough that I needed the .NET the mono server on Mac in order to be able to run the sample. So there are some requirements, but they're relatively easy to install these days on all these different platforms.
Yeah. Cool.
So
So how do we get how do I get a JVM on my machine here?
this is something that's going to serve you for life, Lee. You're going to be a Java developer by next year.
All
So
right.
go to sdkman.io. That's a good place to start.
Let's see.
Maybe, if you don't mind, maybe share your browser because other people might be interested in
Yep.
this. There's been the dark days of Java, especially on Mac, were when you could only use the officially installed Mac JVM and it would put it in a specific place and it was really hard to manage. Now we have SDKman, which kind of like NVM and RVM and all those others can help you manage different instances of Java.
Yeah, click on the install tab at the very top. And then you can just grab that URL.
This guy here?
Yep.
Yep.
And you're just going to blindly paste this into your console.
I was going to say we are a security company, so make sure you just run random bash scripts.
Make sure you put
that's helpful.
sudo in front of that too,
Yeah.
just for good measure. Oh, please don't.
I'm just thinking we should change sudo to fme. So share.
I actually saw a funny little post where somebody had changed alias sudo to please.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, please reboot.
Yep. So if you're familiar, Lee, with NVMs, the Node version manager or the Ruby version manager,
Yep.
This is basically the same thing for all things JVM related.
Okay. So then it created this cool ASCII art up here.
That looks wonderful.
Yeah. on the full gorgeousness of your screen, it might have looked good.
All
right. So run SDK help. See if it's all set up. All right.
He doesn't follow directions well.
Yeah. How about you source that file then? Or open a new terminal.
Okay. Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn. Okay. Let's try this again.
Just copying. Yeah, so at the end of it, it said, all done. Now do this.
So it makes me feel better that those are easily missed too, just like the example for our stuff.
Come on. Not helping that I got to switch back and forth between sharing screens. Okay.
All right. So what do you got? SDK help again? All right. So it's also worth noting, I mean, you don't have to use SDKman to install a JVM. There are other ways to do it. You can go to adopt a JDK, adoptjdk.org. Well, I should know that one off the top of my head. But anyway, so there are a few other ways to get one. But this is by far the easiest way to manage it, especially in the days of, needing multiple JVMs to deal with things. So the easiest way is SDK list Java. And then you can pick one. You could pick, I don't know. See, there's the adopted JDK. So you want that left-hand column. So if you scroll up, and let's pick, let's go up to the very first one, and then let's see, scroll down a little bit. And I know 11 is pretty good. So if you grab the column, the left-hand column with a dash adopt next to it. So you grab that and do SDK install Java and then paste that string.
Okay.
See, this was easy.
Like that?
Yep. If I'm not a liar, I could be a liar. All right. It's working. A little more of the internet downloaded on your machine.
I know. So Brian, tell me all about your bees, man.
It's wintertime. They've been flying around on warm days. I don't know what to expect. I haven't had good luck with wintertime with my bees. So I've been a beekeeper for, I don't know, 3 years now, I guess, maybe going on 4. And winter's tough. It's pretty cold in my area. I'm in New Hampshire. But people in like Manitoba, Canada have this figured it out. So I should be able to figure it out too.
This is a good topic. What do bees naturally do? You know, bees exist in New Hampshire outside of your crates, right? So what do they do in the winter?
Yeah, so wild bees or wild honeybees are becoming more rare because we have, bred bees for certain things. And you can actually buy northern bees. So you buy like a queen from the north area who's more bred to deal with colder weather. And then I got my bees last year from somebody in Georgia, so that's part of my problem, I think. But they'll cluster in a ball, like in the middle of a tree or something, and they'll like vibrate. And the outside of the bees will eventually get cold and die off, or they'll change position, and that's how they stay warm throughout the winter months.
It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. All right. So now we have a JVM installed. So you can do Java -version.
Single dash.
Yeah. Although 2 dashes, I think works now. But
finally, God.
But if you have an older Java, it won't. Right. So.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
so this is good. We've now achieved the baseline requirement for you to run the Spring Boot sample.
So now you're a Java developer.
Yeah.
Right on.
But this is a good test, I think, of the scenario that you're actually in now, which is that you've used the CLI before, you've configured some other app. Now you can, if you run Okta start again, it's going to pick up on the fact that you already have an Okta org, and you can just choose a different sample, and it won't go through the business of allocating a whole new Okta org. It's just going to create a new application within that org.
Okay, so we want to do a Spring Boot plus Okta?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do that. So now it's giving you the directions that you need in order to run the application.
Enter your choice, configuring the new, almost done. There's my client ID. Am I going to need that from here?
Nope.
Or is it already plugged in?
It's all configured for you.
We'll look at that again.
Run this run command?
You skipped a step.
Installed?
Change the directory. No, you don't actually.
Oh.
Although we should probably give it a ./Maven, right, Brian?
Yeah. So this is one of the things
the
we intentionally did. So there's a script in there. It probably ends with W, MVNW Lee. So if you already had Maven installed, you can just run the command as it's written. So that's again one of those assumptions we make. But if you're a Java developer and you know there's an MVNW script in the directory, it'll go get Maven for you, and you don't have to worry about it. So just run ./MVNW Spring Boot run or Spring Boot : run.
This is a good data point for us, Brian. I think because those are the instructions that are in the sample, we should probably have whether you have Maven installed or not, that version of the command will always work. So that's probably the one we should have in the instructions.
Yeah, the tricky thing is on Windows, it's like .mvnw.bat or something.
Oh, right. Good point.
But we could do something with,
Yeah, well, we can
figuring
figure
it out if
something
it's on
like that
Windows or not.
out.
So more of the internet is once again downloaded.
Yeah. This is a little bit like NPM. It's grabbing jars, it's grabbing dependencies, which are actually pretty light, but those dependencies have dependencies, so it's got to grab all of them. But now you have uh, this web server called Tomcat running on 8080. So
Yep.
now you should be able to jump back over to your browser and go to localhost 8080 again.
Yeah, open up an incognito window.
I'm going to sign out of this instead.
Oh, that works too.
That way I don't have to worry about sharing another window.
I had 3 or 4 different windows open today for between Chrome and Brave, which is a Chrome derivative, and they all had 25 tabs in it or plus in them. And when I sat down, I had to delete 90% of them because I had no idea what I was doing yesterday.
Okay, so when I went here, share, all right. Actually, I just went to localhost 8080. It took me to here.
Yep. So it's redirecting you back to Okta to log in. So this is using authorization code flow. Again, if you don't want to know anything about OAuth, you don't have to, but it's configured to the whole application is secure by default, whereas opposed to last time we saw the SPA application where you saw something first and then you logged in. Now you're forced to log in.
I got too many things going on here with this. That's the one, 8427917.
All right, cross your fingers.
Oh, when I put the extra dot in, I took the extra L out.
I'm glad you saw that because I didn't. All right, so this was a very complicated application. It's just a hello world. But if you looked at the code, it's just a simple REST server. And again, if you can make a hello world app, you can do anything else.
And it might, just to contrast it to the View app, it might be worth just bringing it up in Visual Studio Code, and we can go look at the config files for this app, and you'll see that it's kind of similar but slightly different, but it's all plugged in for you automatically.
Yeah. So Matt has a challenge for us. I don't know if we'll get to, but anybody else watching could definitely jump. So JHipster is a popular Java template manager, I guess you'd call it, an application management tool, I guess. So it'll generate your front end and your back end Spring application. I think it even supports .NET backends too. So it's a kind of a template manager. But Matt has a whole bunch of great blog posts and articles on how to use JHipster with Okta.
And after we look at these configuration, we should definitely make Lee install JHipster. Come on. We can't leave without making them do that. All right, so if you open source there, Lee, if you expand the SRC folder and you go to main, expand main, then expand resources, and then click on application properties. So you can see it's slightly different because we're talking about a different language and platform here, but some items look familiar. We have an issuer and we have a client ID. In this case, we also have a client secret because this is a type of OpenID Connect app called a what's it called? It just went out of my head.
Code flow, application code flow.
Well, no, there are 2 types of apps with OpenID Connect, right? There's public apps and there's the other kind.
Oh, the trusted.
A senior moment, yeah. But
confident,
I'm with you. Client.
Confidential client, yep.
Yeah, so this is a confidential client, so we need a secret also.
Yep. So it's worth noting. So our examples that we've shown, we're configuring our data inside of properties files, right? So you wouldn't want to check this file in. This is just the easiest way to get you started.
Right, and we make that note. And one thing we should check on, click on git ignore, if you will. If this sample doesn't already have it, we should.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see because what we need to do, it's a little tricky. We need to add this to git ignore, but we need it in the git repo. So we
Yeah.
could actually do that as a new, if we do that as a new commit for that sample, if we update git ignore and do it as a new commit, application properties will still be there. But for anybody who checks out the sample and commits it somewhere else, it'll be ignored.
Oh,
That
I
would
was
be a
gonna
good thing
say
for us to
you're
do.
already creating this file, right?
Yep.
But
So you already
in the
write command.
repo, it's just a template file. So there's no secrets in the sample
Yeah, I
repo.
guess that's what I'm saying. You could do the same thing in your git ignore, right? When you're writing this out to the user's machine, you could just add application properties to git ignore.
That's a good
Yep.
idea, but we don't need to even. We could actually just have it be in the repo now because um, application.properties in its template form is already in the repo. So adding it to git ignore wouldn't like automatically remove it. It would just mean that future commits wouldn't commit any changes to application.properties.
Yep.
So
So,
that
but
would,
at the end of the day, we just need to make sure that the secrets are not stored in source control.
yes.
So
And we
almost
do
every
include
system
that on
has
the
some.
command line.
Yeah, almost every system has some way to deal with them. So environment variables are one popular way, or you could use something like Vault to store them. Whatever you're doing in your application deployments, you can do that, and you pipe the secrets into your application, so they're not checked in.
Okay. Well, not only did I get an application going in my regular stuff, but I got an application going in a language that I've never even programmed in.
Never. You've never had the crossover, huh?
Not true. I did JSP back in the day.
Oh,
Oh
I wouldn't tell
boy.
anybody.
That's why I don't normally mention it. Yeah, I know Java server pages.
Yeah, it's
I
just
also know
like,
how to write active server pages as well.
yeah, those things. Those technologies are still popular.
And I started in Cold Fusion. That was my first job, was Cold Fusion programming. And I just remember sitting there with the Ben Forta book, which is like Ben Forta is like the Bible writer for Cold Fusion stuff, and just I knew HTML and
Type.cfm.
JavaScript, and they were like, "Okay, you're the webmaster now." Back when that was actually a title, and I just sat there like 18 hours a day with this book open on my desk, going, "Wait a minute, how do I do? Oh, CF query to get stuff out of the database. Okay, cool."
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mention that though, right? So I don't remember the last time I cracked a paper book to learn something. You mean it's either an ebook and I either read it or a combination of reading it and control F, right? And then I search through looking for the keywords. But 90% of the stuff I do, I just search Google and find a blog post or a Stack Overflow post or something and try to consume data that way, And
Yep.
it's so much faster. If I don't know the command to look up in a book, I'm just going to try 5 or 6 different things in a Google search before I come up with it.
Oh yeah, I was trying to remember what the name of it was. I remember writing in a layer home site, which was the IDE for Cold Fusion back in the day, before Adobe bought it and made Dreamweaver and merged Dreamweaver and Homesite together. So yeah, now it's Macromedia Homesite, I guess. I don't know if it
Oh
still
boy.
lives, but
Wow.
back from 1996, man. Oof. Almost,
Nice.
almost as old as Micah. Crying
Oh,
out
that's impossible.
loud. Matt says Homesite. It was, man. It was a really easy to use editor, man. So, is there anything else we need to cover about what this has done? So, we created a View app. We looked at the configuration for the View app. We created a Spring Boot app and looked at configuration for that. Is there anything else people need to know about the Okta CLI other than like where to get it?
I don't think so. I mean, I think one thing we could point out is if there's samples that people want to see, let us know. We can definitely easily add other samples. I think there's a link in the CLI.octa.com, but there's also a GitHub link that you can create an issue if you have a problem or have any ideas. There you go. Thank you.
And
So just drop us a note. There's also a wiki page. If you really want to create your own sample, you can do that too. So some of our blog posts will use the Okta CLI to bootstrap any existing random GitHub project. It doesn't necessarily have to be one sponsored by Okta.
And if you have any questions or comments or concerns about this, you can email all of us at devrel@octa.com.
Absolutely.
And if you sign me up for email newsletters, now that you have my personal email, make sure you don't sign me up for anything too unchristian, please. That's just
Too late.
I'm going to be signed up for all kinds of devil worship, all kinds of weird stuff now. So welcome to the internet.
Yep. Scary times.
Let me check one last time, see if we have any other questions. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Thanks to everybody who joined today. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to email us at devrel@octa.com, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right, bye,
everyone.
everybody.